All right, this is one of those Witchpolice quick hits episodes, which I like to call micro interviews because it's about 10 minutes and it's often with someone that is either new to me, new to the show, or doing something interesting that's related to the music scene that maybe I haven't, it hadn't occurred to me to talk about or to do on a full episode of the show. So, I mean, you're not new to me, and what you do is definitely not new to me, but I think that we're in a very interesting situation now with the world and the way things are going as far as people going back to work and getting back to some of the hobbies and interests that they had before the pandemic. So I think the best way to sort of start this off is if you want to introduce yourself and just give a bit of background about what it is you do at the station.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Sam. I'm Scott Price. I am the programming director here at CKUW 95.9 FM, based out of the University of Winnipeg. And I was hired on as program director early September.
Yeah, it was
So
recent, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was recent. Before it was Sam Doucette. I'm the program director. Before that, I've been a volunteer at the station for about close to a decade. I think
Okay.
this upcoming year will be my 10th year being involved with CKW in some way. Never did music shows. I did a lot of spoken word sort of news shows. So, but always around
Yeah.
the music scene and going to local shows and stuff like that. So
Cool. Well, and then so in your, I mean, like I said at the beginning, things are changing as far as people being able to actually get out to places of work or places where they pursue their interests, and the station is definitely one of those places. How has this position that you're in now been, given the fact that we're at the end of a pandemic? Hopefully.
yeah, well, hopefully we'll see, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the station kind of couldn't do the regular how we normally operate for about since March 2020, so now we're just getting back into getting volunteers back here at the station to broadcast their shows live. So it's been about 2 years without live broadcasting. So some shows have just been kind of on archival repeat for a long time.
Yeah.
A lot of people have been doing pre-records at home, which is great. And some people are continuing that, but we got about 50 some odd volunteers coming back, and then still a number of shows that are going to be recorded from home.
Okay.
So it's been a long time coming, and it would be an interesting interview to kind of talk to Sam, who was the previous new program director.
Right.
Most of his time at the station was during COVID and just dealing with that, right? For me, it's been, since I've got in, it's been like, okay, return to campus, how to figure that out, and the university has their own rules about that. So we kind of have to follow the university's mandates. So
Sure.
You have to double vax to come in. They have a specific card that people need to apply for and get and all this other kind of stuff. So
Okay.
It's been a process, but we're happy that a lot of people are coming back, and a lot of volunteers are really excited to come back and just do their shows at the station. It's a great feeling to have that live element, because we've always been about live and local.
Yeah.
That's what CKW does, what we've always wanted to do. So getting back into it in some way, maybe not, we were sort of expecting, just a big rush and everything would be going back to normal. It doesn't look like it's going to be totally that. So, which is fine. It's like everyone knows, we kind of have to learn how to just adapt.
That's right.
To the situation, and CKW is no different. So yeah, it's been a long time coming. Like, we had this satellite studio in the Fortune block right by the Times changed over the summer, which was great. A dozen or more, about a dozen shows were live from there, and that was really a cool experience. But just happy to have people back, So
well, during all of this time that you haven't been able to have the live radio, I assume that a lot of the volunteers have got pretty good at doing things remotely. I mean, working from home at pre-recording shows and things like that. Is that something that's an option for people going forward if they still feel uncomfortable about going out in this this world we're in? I mean, because I imagine the skill level has increased since March of 2020 or something in terms of just producing at home.
Yeah, big time. A lot of people are still doing that. I think that there's a lot of people who will eventually come back, but they're pretty comfortable doing their show pre-record. Sean Burns does his country show, Boots and Saddle, on Tuesday. he's comfortable doing a pre-record. That's great. Bucky of Royal Canoe fame has a show on CKW. I think he's pretty comfortable doing it from home, and that's great.
Yeah.
And it's just about, just getting the files and making sure things play at the right time, which, sometimes as staff, we have to program playlists for like an entire day. So
I
like
bet, yeah.
making sure everything line up sometimes is like a considerable amount of work for us, or say considerable, a fair amount of work, but that's fine. Like we just want to try to get it, the stuff out there. So it's going to be a mix, but it's also good that a lot of people have had this experience of producing from home. I think it's a positive thing.
Yeah, it's just extra skill set they have when they come back.
Yeah, and then it's like if they then they can, if they know they have stuff coming up, they're going to do a string of live shows, and like, oh, I'm going to be away for a couple of weeks, so then I can knock off a bunch of shows and send it to you. Like that's good too. That makes it easier for us.
Yeah. Did you lose a lot of volunteers over this? People who maybe didn't have the technology or the desire to do these remotely?
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of like volunteers who just maybe didn't have the technical expertise or had other stuff going on.
Yeah.
That just couldn't, because of life circumstances, just couldn't do the shows anymore. So it's been a process of figuring that out, and then also even figuring out what people's comfort levels are, right? Like even with people coming back, and we do have some, some days are busier than others, but potentially, we could have people, the music directors in the back, someone is we have some music department volunteers who are cataloging music.
Yeah.
Because we have a gigantic backlog, because it has.
I believe it.
Yeah. It's the music director's desk is like just there's barely enough room for his keyboard. It's just like filled with mailers, right?
Yeah.
So like, and it's just like figuring out what the people's comfort levels are, like, about how, and that's like that's going to be, as staff, that's our main thing, is to make sure people feel comfortable coming back and all that kind of stuff. So but yeah, we did lose there's a few people who like maybe won't be coming back, or like, we still got to kind of figure out how that's going to work. So
yeah. What is the situation like? I mean, one of the things that I always liked about CKUW is that they always, the station always let my terrible bands come on and play live in the studio. It happened more often than it probably should have. But what is the situation with that? I mean, like, is that kind of off the table right now until things get better, or are people still bringing in guests for live performances and live interviews?
Yeah, well, all the interviews would have to be remote. We really can't have guests that like we used to, or live bands. It won't be, I mean, maybe next year it might be a thing, but we're not planning that until, I don't know, maybe next fall, like next year. Maybe that's a possibility, because I mean, right now, I don't think the university really allows guests. Like there's a whole like process for even to have a guest come into the university for some reason,
right?
Let alone we're going to have a bunch of bands just come in here. It's so it's just like a logistical thing that we just can't do right now, unfortunately. Although we're hoping that there'll be more opportunities for interviews for bands as things kind of normalize it in terms of just how we broadcast. So,
what about volunteer training? Is that something that's kind of off as well right now, or are you still able to train new people?
No, we have a lot of new people because a lot of the training just went online, so it was actually learning staff. So there's a lot of it that can go online that we've been doing. So that's also been kind of a great thing for us, that there's a lot of stuff that we can do online that we used to do in person. So that's been a great thing, I think, for the station as well, to have that option. Obviously, at a certain point, we need them to come here and look at the equipment, and this is how you catalog a CD and all this other kind of stuff. But if people are interested, or if you have a show idea, don't hesitate to contact us, because especially now, there's a lot of opportunity in terms of time slots and opportunities to come and be a volunteer if you're comfortable with it. And that's a conversation we can have. But we're not really stopping that part of it either.
Well, maybe that's a good place to end this then, is if people are interested in finding out more about the station, whether it's just to even see what the schedule is like or find out how they can get involved, what's the best way to do that?
Well, the best way is, contact me, programming at ckw.ca, or the volunteer coordinator. You can get the information on the staff directory. that would be the best way. Is to just send us an email, and then we'll figure it out from there. But there's, there is potentially for a lot of spots.
Cool.
And things are kind of changing in terms of the schedule. So there might be some open spots for people. If you have a show idea, let us know about it, please.
Cool. Well, I'm glad you're back. I'm glad UMFM is back, and I'm glad everyone's sort of slowly starting to get back to where they were. I mean, I know it's going to be a lot of transition during all of this as we sort of figure out what happens, but it's nice to see that some of the things like shows, like live shows, and like campus community radio is coming back, because it's I think it's been sorely missed having that live element of it. Even though the shows have been good, like I've been listening, to a lot of Sean Burns' show is a great example. I've been listening to that a lot over the pandemic, and he's doing a bang up job from home. But it is nice to know that the person you're listening to is in the studio and actually doing it right on site.
Yeah, I mean, Keith Black, who does Voyage on Wednesdays, the jazz show from 10 to 1. He just did his first live show just this last week. It was a bit of a technology kerfuffle thing, but we're going to get that all figured out. I'm really happy that Keith is back. And the Saturday midnight into Sunday, will actually be live. Actually, a great volunteer, Colton Hutchinson, is taking over that spot.
Oh, cool.
And he does almost like noon to or midnight to 6 a.m. pretty much almost all live. So it's a cycle radio. So that's also something that I think is cool that's happening again, getting those overnight people. The overnight weirdos are coming back, which is a sign of life for campus community radio, I think.
That's awesome.